Throughout history, humanity has been drawn to mysteries that seem just beyond understanding, stories of civilizations, ruins, and knowledge that may never fully be revealed. These are not just historical records. They are fragments of a past filled with secrets, warnings, and wonders. From sunken cities beneath restless seas to ancient temples aligned with the stars, every discovery hints at a balance between knowledge and danger, light and shadow. The past is full of stories of ingenuity and ambition, of humans who observed, learned, and perhaps even glimpsed truths they were not meant to comprehend. The allure lies in the contrast, the known and the unknown, what is visible in stone or artifact, and what remains hidden beneath layers of earth, sand, or water. Each discovery inspires awe, as though time itself has chosen to whisper only part of the story, leaving the rest as a tantalizing mystery. These ancient enigmas are not merely curiosities. They challenge our understanding of history, technology, and the very nature of human knowledge. They invite us to wonder whether the civilizations that came before us possessed insight now lost, whether their disappearance was natural or intentional, and what lessons they left behind. As we journey into these shadowed corridors of history, it is not only knowledge we seek, but the quiet resonance of human curiosity itself. Each mystery explored is a meditation on the fragility and ambition of civilization, on the delicate balance between revelation and concealment. In the dim glow of memory and imagination, the past whispers, calling us to look closer, to question what we think we know, and to listen to the echoes of forgotten worlds. Beneath the shimmering surface of oceans and seas lie ancient cities swallowed by water, preserved yet silent. Pavlopetri in Greece and other submerged settlements reveal streets, foundations, and buildings arranged with remarkable precision, evidence of societies far older and more sophisticated than we imagined. Walking through these ruins in imagination, one can see the echoes of everyday life, courtyards, pathways, and ceremonial spaces, now empty, leaving only the lingering aura of what once was. These cities raise questions that go beyond simple natural disaster. Certain structures appear older than historical timelines suggest, hinting at knowledge or technology lost to human memory. The alignments, construction methods, and mysterious chambers imply a civilization aware of cosmic patterns, as though some wisdom was deliberately encoded in stone and water. Every corner evokes awe and a subtle unease, a sense that the past was both magnificent and intentionally hidden. Ancient texts describe islands and cities lost overnight, catastrophes memorialized as myth. Could these submerged cities be the remnants of such events? The parallels between legend and evidence suggest civilizations that thrived, vanished, and perhaps left warnings embedded in their architecture. In their silent persistence beneath waves, these cities remind us that human history is more fragile and mysterious than we often realize. The ocean, in its patient quiet, holds not only remnants of life, but secrets that challenge our understanding of civilization and the passage of time. Across civilizations, myths speak of beings who descended from the sky, watchers, Anunnaki, or Nephilim, messengers of wisdom and forbidden knowledge. They are described as guiding humanity, imparting technologies, astronomical insight, and spiritual understanding. The consistency of these myths across cultures, Sumerian, Hebrew, Indian, hints at shared experiences, perhaps encounters with intelligences beyond ordinary human perception. Artifacts and structures suggest that ancient peoples possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and the cosmos. Observatories, alignments, and star maps indicate a level of understanding difficult to reconcile with the known capabilities of their time. Some texts caution against probing too deeply into this wisdom, hinting that knowledge could be dangerous if misused. The tension between revelation and concealment recurs. Humanity was offered glimpses, but some truths were deliberately hidden. These celestial beings are both awe-inspiring and unnerving, reminding us of the delicate balance between insight and peril. The myths serve as warnings, but also as records of human fascination with the cosmos, revealing a desire to understand forces larger than ourselves. Whether symbolic or literal, they suggest that humanity's earliest encounters with profound knowledge were tempered with reverence, caution, and perhaps fear. The stories of the Watchers continue to stir curiosity, urging us to wonder what truths lie just beyond human grasp. From Central and South America rise temples and ceremonial complexes, carefully aligned with celestial events, echoing the wisdom of their builders. The pyramids of Teotihuacan, Chavindahuantar, and other sites reveal extraordinary knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and ritual, integrated seamlessly into architecture. These were not mere structures. They were instruments of observation, teaching, and preservation, designed to encode knowledge for generations. The intricate carvings and symbols on stones suggest cosmologies that linked the earthly and the divine. Animal motifs, abstract patterns, and depictions of celestial bodies imply both spiritual and practical significance, communicating knowledge in ways beyond written language. Some passages and chambers were intentionally hidden, accessible only to initiates, emphasizing that understanding was restricted and sacred. These spaces are at once awe-inspiring and cautionary, highlighting the duality of insight, illumination, and potential danger. The play of light, shadow, and sound within these temples demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of the environment, offering experiences meant to teach, guide, or warn. The ancients encoded their wisdom in ways that persist even after millennia, inviting contemplation and reflection. These sites remind us that knowledge is not merely information, but a lived, carefully curated experience, preserved with care and intention, bridging the human and the divine, the visible and the hidden. Far to the west, beyond the Mediterranean and across oceans yet unexplored by many, lie the ancient temples of Central and South America, places where human ingenuity and spiritual devotion intertwined in ways that continue to baffle scholars and dreamers alike. These were not merely sites of worship. They were living landscapes, carefully designed to mirror the rhythms of the cosmos, to channel unseen energies, and perhaps to guard knowledge far older than the civilizations that built them. Imagine walking through the towering pyramids of Teotihuacan, feeling the weight of centuries beneath your feet, hearing only the whisper of the wind through stone corridors. The air is thick with the sense of presence, of rituals long concluded, yet still lingering in the silence, as though the very stones remember the ceremonies that shaped them. Here, history and mystery are inseparable, and every carved symbol hints at truths that were never meant to be fully revealed. The temples themselves are masterpieces of geometry and alignment. Their construction suggests that their builders possessed an understanding of astronomy and mathematics that surpasses what one might expect from societies that had yet to develop metal tools or written language in the ways we recognize. The avenues, pyramids, and ceremonial platforms of Teotihuacan, for example, align precisely with celestial phenomena, marking solstices and equinoxes with accuracy that challenges modern expectations. And yet, the purpose of these alignments often remains a mystery. Were they purely religious, a form of devotion to gods whose names are lost to us? Or were they a method of encoding knowledge, a map, a warning, a record of truths too dangerous to speak aloud? Walking these avenues, it is easy to feel that the line between practical construction and mystical intent is deliberately blurred, and that the architects sought to hide as much as they revealed. Legends and myths add an additional layer to these sites, stories passed down through generations that speak of gods who demanded more than mere worship. Some required secrecy, guardianship, and understanding, lessons taught not through words but through experience and observation. Rituals were performed at precise times and places, often involving symbolic gestures, offerings, or initiations, all designed to connect the human with the divine. The Chavindahuantar complex in the Andes, with its labyrinthine passages and carved stone faces, suggests a culture attuned to sound and perception, using acoustic properties to create experiences that were at once awe-inspiring and terrifying. The temples were not static. They were interactive, living embodiments of the culture's philosophies and cosmologies. Every echo, every shadow cast by flickering firelight, was part of the message, part of the hidden knowledge encoded in stone. Some of this knowledge appears deliberately protective, as if the ancients understood that not all truths were meant to be grasped lightly. Archaeological evidence suggests that certain chambers and passages were intentionally obscured or difficult to access, their secrets guarded by physical complexity, darkness, or labyrinthine designs. It is as though the builders understood the consequences of revelation and took great care to ensure that only those prepared, initiates, priests, or chosen individuals, could fully comprehend the messages encoded within the architecture. The mystery is compounded by the precision of construction. Massive stones fitted together with near-perfect alignment, carvings that defy simple explanation, and celestial connections that suggest a civilization intimately aware of its place in the universe. Walking through these spaces, one feels a sense of reverence and caution, a recognition that the knowledge contained within may be as perilous as it is profound. The ritualistic aspect of these temples extends to their symbolic language, where art, sculpture, and carvings encode myths, ethics, and warnings. Figures of jaguars, serpents, and celestial beings appear repeatedly, each a complex metaphor for natural forces, cosmic principles, or spiritual truths. Some carvings suggest cycles of life and death, creation and destruction, while others seem to hint at interactions with entities beyond human understanding, reminiscent of the Watchers and other beings described in distant civilizations. This convergence of symbolism is striking. Across continents separated by thousands of miles, cultures developed motifs and metaphors that echo one another, suggesting either shared memory or universal recognition of certain truths. The temples thus become more than monuments. They are repositories of human experience, consciousness, and, perhaps, forbidden knowledge. The quiet power of these temples is amplified when considering the rituals that took place within them. Accounts from both historical records and modern interpretations suggest ceremonies that engaged multiple senses: sound, light, scent, and even altered states of consciousness. Shamanic practices, music, firelight, and carefully timed movements combined to create experiences that were both transformative and disorienting. These rites were not mere performances. They were deliberate encounters with forces or knowledge that the participants were not fully able to articulate. Some scholars suggest that these practices were attempts to communicate with beings or intelligences that existed on the border of human perception, to glimpse truths that the conscious mind could not yet grasp. The temples were, in essence, thresholds carefully designed to allow glimpses into realms normally concealed, balancing revelation with caution. The interplay of light and shadow within the temples is particularly significant. As the sun rises, passes, and sets, its rays interact with carved surfaces, tunnels, and ceremonial spaces in ways that seem intentional, creating patterns, illuminations, or alignments that may only be visible for moments each year. These phenomena serve as reminders that time itself was a part of the architecture, that knowledge was encoded not just in stone but in movement, in the passage of days, months, and seasons. Beneath the scorching sun of the Egyptian deserts, hidden beneath layers of sand and stone, lie secrets that have captivated humanity for millennia. The pyramids, temples, and tombs of this ancient land are more than monuments to kings and gods. They are repositories of knowledge, carefully encoded in stone and shadow. Among these wonders, whispers persist of the Serpent Kings, enigmatic rulers who may have reigned long before the dynasties recorded in official history. Legends describe them as beings of wisdom and power, their reigns marked by technologies and knowledge that have since vanished. The Serpent Kings were not merely sovereigns. They were guardians of truths that humanity may not yet be ready to fully understand. Their legacies hidden in subterranean chambers and encrypted inscriptions, waiting for the brave or curious to uncover them. The pyramids of Giza, though familiar in silhouette, still conceal mysteries that defy conventional explanation. Beneath the familiar tombs lie hidden corridors, some only recently discovered, whose purposes remain elusive. Certain chambers, inaccessible for centuries, are said to contain inscriptions warning of awakening knowledge too potent for the unprepared mind. Scholars and explorers have long speculated on the existence of these secret spaces, theorizing that they may house records of pre-dynastic civilizations or technologies lost to the sands of time. It is the tension between the visible and the hidden, between what is known and what is forbidden, that gives these sites their enduring power. Walking through the dimly lit tunnels, one cannot escape the sense that the very stones are alive with memory, silently observing every footstep. The Serpent Kings themselves are figures shrouded in ambiguity. Some texts and carvings depict them with serpentine motifs, bodies intertwined with snakes, crowns shaped like coils, eyes that seem to reflect the cosmos itself. These symbols, repeated throughout various artifacts and temples, suggest a culture deeply attuned to both the natural world and the celestial realm. Serpents, in Egyptian symbolism, often represented wisdom, eternity, and the cyclical nature of life and death. But in the context of these kings, the imagery seems to hint at something more profound, a connection to forces beyond ordinary human comprehension. Were these rulers merely metaphorical, or were they remembered as actual beings who wielded knowledge dangerous enough to be hidden for generations? The lines between myth, history, and forbidden truth blur, leaving the mind suspended in quiet fascination. In addition to their mysterious rulers, ancient Egypt also hints at lost technologies and sophisticated understanding that surpasses what should have been possible for the era. The precision of the stonework, the alignment of massive blocks, and the construction of the pyramids themselves suggest an engineering prowess that continues to baffle modern scientists. Some chambers within the Great Pyramid appear to be perfectly proportioned to resonate with specific frequencies of sound, hinting at an understanding of acoustics that seems advanced even by today's standards. Others align with stars and celestial events in ways that indicate profound astronomical knowledge. These features are not scattered anomalies, but deliberate design choices, suggesting that the architects were working with a purpose, guided perhaps by principles of sacred geometry, cosmic observation, or instruction from sources lost to time. The hidden chambers beneath the Giza Plateau have fueled speculation for centuries. Ancient accounts and modern research hint at the possibility of libraries, vaults, or even mechanisms buried deep underground, each potentially containing knowledge that could rewrite our understanding of early human civilization. Some explorers describe feelings of unease, almost as if the spaces themselves are warning intruders to proceed with caution. The idea of forbidden knowledge echoes across cultures, reminding us that humanity's pursuit of understanding has always carried a risk. In Egypt, these warnings are etched into stone, silent yet compelling, suggesting that the ancients understood both the power and the danger inherent in knowledge. Perhaps the Serpent Kings, in their wisdom, sought to protect humanity from truths too vast or disruptive to bear. The symbolism of serpents extends beyond rulers and architecture. In many texts, serpents are associated with life, death, and rebirth, connecting the earthly and the divine. They are guardians of thresholds, mediators between worlds, and sometimes keepers of forbidden secrets. It is easy to imagine these kings as embodiments of these principles, rulers whose knowledge allowed them to navigate realms both visible and invisible, and to encode that understanding in temples and tombs designed to endure millennia. The more we study these ancient structures and artifacts, the more the patterns emerge, suggesting intentionality and foresight that go far beyond mere construction for ritual or burial. There's a quiet sophistication here, a recognition that knowledge carries weight, and that some truths must be protected, even if it means hiding them beneath stone and sand. The psychological impact of these discoveries is subtle yet profound. Walking through subterranean tunnels or standing before massive carved walls, one feels the convergence of human ambition, ingenuity, and reverence for forces beyond comprehension. There is awe in the scale of construction, wonder in the precision of the engineering, and an almost ineffable sense of being in the presence of wisdom that predates written history. Scholars and visitors alike describe a mixture of fascination and unease, as though the very air within these hidden spaces carries memory of rulers, rituals, and warnings that have outlasted empires. It is a humbling experience, reminding us that the ancients were not merely builders but custodians of knowledge, aware that the pursuit of understanding could illuminate or consume. The mystery of the Serpent Kings is further deepened by the gaps in historical record. Few texts survive that speak directly of pre-dynastic rulers, and those that do are often fragmentary, cryptic, or allegorical. Yet these hints are enough to stir the imagination. Stories of kings who ruled before recorded history, of wisdom that could bend the boundaries of nature, of temples and chambers designed to protect knowledge from the unprepared. Egypt, it seems, is a land where history and myth entwine, where visible monuments hint at invisible truths, and where each discovery raises more questions than answers. The sands conceal not only tombs and treasures, but also the silent pulse of knowledge, waiting for those who are willing to perceive its subtle rhythms. As we step back into the warm desert sun, leaving the hidden chambers and the shadows of the Serpent Kings behind, the mind carries with it a sense of reverent caution. Egypt teaches us that the pursuit of knowledge is both illuminating and perilous, that the most extraordinary discoveries often lie in the spaces deliberately hidden from view. The stones, carvings, and chambers are reminders of civilization that understood the duality of insight, the power to create and the potential to destroy, the illumination of understanding and the darkness of consequences. And as the journey continues, we carry this awareness with us, traveling from the deserts of Egypt to the scattered remnants of impossible technologies around the globe, following the quiet thread of knowledge that connects civilizations across time, space, and the hidden corridors of history. Across the vast deserts of Middle East, far beyond the well-trodden paths of history, lie remnants of civilizations that existed before we had words to describe history itself. Among these ruins, strange structures emerge, enigmatic in purpose and design, challenging every assumption about early human capability. Towering stone monoliths, intricately aligned megaliths, and subterranean complexes hint at knowledge, both practical and esoteric. Some structures seem deliberately designed to withstand time and catastrophe, as though their builders anticipated the rise and fall of empires that would follow. Archaeologists, historians, and travelers alike are drawn to these places, feeling an almost magnetic pull toward understanding the mysteries embedded in stone, as if the earth itself is urging them to look closer, to uncover what was deliberately hidden. One of the most compelling of these enigmas can be found in the ruins of Göbekli Tepe, a site that predates much of what we previously considered the dawn of civilization. Carved from massive limestone pillars, some weighing tens of tons, these megaliths form circles and patterns that defy simple explanation. The carvings etched into their surfaces depict animals, celestial symbols, and abstract designs whose meanings have eluded scholars for decades. What is astonishing is not merely the age of the site, over 11,000 years old, but the sophistication of its construction, achieved in a time long before the invention of metal tools or written language. The precision and intent suggest that its builders possessed a profound understanding of geometry, astronomy, and perhaps even spiritual or metaphysical principles that remain hidden from modern comprehension. The purpose of Göbekli Tepe is one of the enduring mysteries of archaeology. Was it a place of worship, a ceremonial center, or a hub of astronomical observation? Some researchers propose that the site functioned as a repository for knowledge, a place where wisdom was encoded in stone to guide future generations. Others speculate that it was deliberately designed to transmit warnings or insights, messages intended to survive long after the people who constructed it had disappeared. The lack of domestic structures or evidence of sustained habitation deepens the mystery. This was not a city in the traditional sense, yet its impact on our understanding of human civilization is profound. It challenges the notion that organized society and monumental construction arose only after the advent of agriculture and writing. The carvings themselves offer tantalizing clues. Animals like lions, snakes, and vultures appear repeatedly, sometimes in combinations that seem symbolic rather than literal. Some researchers suggest that these depictions encode knowledge of the natural world, cosmic cycles, or spiritual allegories meant to convey understanding beyond the spoken word. The repetitive motifs imply a system of thought, a framework through which the builders interpreted reality. And yet, the deeper one delves, the more questions emerge. Were these symbols understood universally among the builders, or were they the guarded wisdom of an elite group? Were the images purely metaphorical, or did they reference actual events, entities, or technologies that we no longer recognize? The uncertainty lingers, a quiet tension between insight and the unknown that is both unsettling and mesmerizing. The alignment of the structures adds another layer of intrigue. Some pillars appear oriented toward particular stars, constellations, or solar events, suggesting that the builders were observers of the heavens and sought to encode their understanding within the physical space of the site. Such precision raises questions about the tools and knowledge available to people at the time. How could they calculate these alignments without modern instruments? Were they guided by careful observation alone, or by instruction from sources beyond ordinary human perception? The answer remains elusive, but the implications are profound. If knowledge of the cosmos existed thousands of years before recorded history, it reshapes our understanding of what it means to be an intelligent, observant civilization. The sheer scale and deliberate construction of these megalithic complexes convey a sense of intention that goes beyond mere practicality. The effort required to transport, carve, and erect massive stones without modern technology suggests a society deeply committed to the creation and preservation of knowledge. Every stone seems purposefully placed, every carving carefully executed, as if the builders anticipated future generations walking among them, observing and learning from what had been left behind. There is an almost meditative quality to this realization. The ancients were aware of time not just as a sequence of days and seasons, but as an enduring continuum, and they sought to communicate across that continuum, leaving messages for those who would come long after their own lives had ended. Exploring these sites, one cannot ignore the psychological and emotional resonance they carry. Walking among the pillars of Göbekli Tepe, feeling the weight of history pressing gently yet persistently against the mind, is a humbling experience. There is awe in the scale, wonder in the precision, and a subtle unease in the realization that these structures hold knowledge we may not yet be prepared to fully comprehend. It is a reminder that humanity has always walked a fine line between curiosity and caution, that the pursuit of understanding is as old as civilization itself, and that some mysteries may have been intentionally preserved to teach patience, respect, and humility. The silence of the site, broken only by wind or the distant call of a bird, seems almost deliberate, as if the stones themselves are guiding the observer to contemplate the vastness of time and the depth of human ingenuity. Beyond Göbekli Tepe, similar megalithic sites scattered across the Middle East hint at a broader pattern. From the massive stone structures of Lebanon to the enigmatic ruins in Anatolia, there appears to be a shared language of construction, symbolism, and alignment that transcends geography and culture. Far to the north, where the land meets the icy seas and the horizon is often blurred by mist, lie secrets of humanity's past that remain almost entirely unexplored. Here, in the frozen expanses and rugged landscapes of northern Europe and Siberia, evidence emerges of civilizations and cultures whose traces are fragmentary, yet remarkable. Stone circles, Earthen mounds and massive megaliths hint at societies that understood their environment with astonishing precision, blending practical survival with spiritual and astronomical insight. Unlike the well-preserved cities of the South, these northern sites are often shrouded in snow, ice, and the relentless passage of time, leaving their stories partially obscured, whispering through wind-swept valleys and frozen forests. The silence of these places carries a different weight, one of isolation, endurance, and a quiet, almost eerie persistence across millennia. Among the most compelling of these northern enigmas are the massive stone circles and burial mounds scattered across Scandinavia and the British Isles, sites such as Stonehenge. The ringed cairns of Orkney and the ancient structures in Gotland demonstrate a sophistication that belies their prehistoric origins. The alignment of these stones with solstices, lunar cycles, and other celestial events suggests that their builders were not only keen observers of the heavens, but also deeply invested in understanding the rhythm of time itself. These constructions were not merely practical or ceremonial. They were repositories of knowledge, encoded in geometry and orientation, meant to guide generations long after their creators had vanished. Each stone, carefully placed and often transported over vast distances, speaks to a culture that valued both permanence and meaning. The carvings and symbols found at these northern sites add layers of mystery. Abstract patterns, animal motifs, and enigmatic figures appear repeatedly, hinting at beliefs and practices that are only partially understood today. Some of the carvings suggest a cosmology in which the earth and sky were intimately connected, where cycles of life, death, and renewal were observed and recorded with reverence. Others hint at interactions with forces or entities beyond the ordinary, perhaps akin to the celestial visitors described in southern myths or the watchers of ancient texts. The repetition of certain motifs across vast geographic distances invites speculation about shared knowledge, trade of ideas, or even the memory of ancient migrations and lost civilizations. The mystery deepens when one realizes that much of this knowledge has been obscured or altered over time, leaving only fragments for us to interpret. Stonehenge, perhaps the most famous of these northern enigmas, continues to baffle both archaeologists and astronomers. The massive sarsen stones and smaller bluestones were transported from hundreds of miles away, a feat that required sophisticated planning and understanding of both physics and manpower. Some stones align precisely with the sunrise on the summer solstice, while others mark lunar events and eclipses, revealing a depth of astronomical knowledge unexpected for a society considered primitive by conventional standards. The purpose of Stonehenge remains a topic of intense debate. Was it a ceremonial center, an astronomical observatory, a burial site, or perhaps all of these simultaneously? The very ambiguity of its function adds to its allure, inviting both scholarly investigation and imaginative exploration. In addition to their astronomical significance, these northern sites often contain evidence of ritual and symbolism designed to engage the senses and mind. Burial mounds, for instance, frequently incorporate acoustics that amplify chants or the sound of wind passing through stone chambers, suggesting that the experience of sound was integral to spiritual practice. The placement of stones and mounds often interacts with sunlight and shadow in precise ways, creating transient illuminations that occur only at specific times of year. These effects may have served as lessons, warnings, or guides, encoding knowledge in ways that are not immediately obvious to the uninitiated observer. There is a sense that the builders of these sites understood the delicate balance between revealing and concealing, between guiding the curious and protecting the unprepared. The northern landscape itself contributes to the enduring mystery. Unlike the temperate climates of southern civilizations, the harsh environment demanded resilience, adaptation, and an intimate understanding of natural cycles. Societies here would have observed the sun, moon, and stars not just for spiritual purposes, but as essential guides for survival. The interplay of environment, astronomy, and construction suggests a culture that did not separate the sacred from the practical. Every observation, every measurement, Every placement of stone was imbued with layered meaning. The result is a silent dialogue between humanity and the cosmos, preserved across thousands of years, challenging modern observers to interpret the intentions of those who came before. The psychological impact of exploring these northern ruins is profound. Standing among towering stones, feeling the wind whip across barren plains, one experiences a sense of isolation and timelessness that is hard to replicate in modern life. The silence is both comforting and unsettling, offering a meditative space to contemplate the ingenuity, wisdom, and foresight of ancient builders. It is easy to imagine the ceremonies that once took place here, rituals designed to connect participants with the cycles of nature and the rhythms of the cosmos. And yet, even with imagination, a sense of incompleteness persists, a recognition that much has been lost, and that the true intentions and knowledge of these ancient peoples may remain forever partially hidden. There is also the broader implication of connection across continents. Many northern sites share structural and symbolic similarities with sites in southern Europe, Africa, and the Near East, hinting at a network of knowledge, cultural exchange, or parallel development. The repetition of patterns, alignments, and ceremonial practices across vast distances challenges conventional narratives of isolated development, suggesting instead a hidden continuity of human observation, ingenuity, and reverence for cosmic order. These connections, subtle yet persistent, imply that humanity's relationship with the heavens and the earth has always been deeply intertwined, and that knowledge, some of it lost, some preserved, traveled across time, geography, and culture, waiting to be rediscovered. As the icy winds sweep across these ancient landscapes, the sense of mystery remains palpable. The northern megaliths and burial sites are more than remnants of human occupation. They are silent teachers, guiding us to consider the delicate balance between survival, knowledge, and reverence for forces beyond human control. They remind us that even in the harshest environments, humanity sought to understand the cosmos, to record observations, and to preserve insights for future generations. And as we leave the frozen expanses, our minds carry the quiet hum of curiosity, the persistent pull of questions unanswered, and the knowledge that the mysteries of the North are part of a larger tapestry. A global story of human endeavor, observation, and the ceaseless pursuit of understanding the unknown. Beneath the weight of stone temples and the echo of ancient chants, there existed voices that did not belong entirely to this world. They were the oracles, women and men who spoke softly into the silence, listening not to the words of men, but to whispers carried by something unseen. In candlelit chambers and smoke-filled caves, they gave counsel to kings, warned empires of their fates, and murmured prophecies that shaped the course of civilizations. Yet behind their calm words lingered a question that still chills the soul. Who, or what, was speaking through them? Long before the written word, long before cities rose from the dust, humanity sought connection with the unseen. We called it the divine, the infinite, the void. But as we reached out, sometimes something reached back. The Oracle of Delphi, seated upon her tripod above the steaming fissures of the earth, inhaled vapors said to open the door between worlds. Her voice, trembling and fractured, was transcribed by priests who interpreted her cryptic verses. To the people of Greece, she was the mouthpiece of Apollo, the sun god who illuminated truth. Yet, in her trance, her eyes rolled white, her speech dissolved into fragments, and the boundary between sanity and revelation blurred. Was she touched by divinity, or by something the human mind was never meant to perceive? Every culture had its seers, the druids of the Misted Isles, the Sibyls of Rome, the shamans of Siberia, the dreamwalkers of the Americas. They shared a single trait. Each spoke from within a kind of darkness. Their knowledge did not come through study, but surrender. They would fast for days, drink from sacred brews, or inhale strange fumes until their consciousness shifted. Then, in that suspended place between waking and death, visions arrived. Some saw the future, Others saw symbols too vast for language. Their revelations often came at a cost: madness, isolation, or early death. Modern science might call it trance or hallucination. But to the ancients, these states were doorways, a channel between flesh and spirit, between human and divine. And perhaps that is why, across the centuries, such practices were both revered and feared. The oracle was a vessel, yes, but for what? When her voice changed, when her tone dropped into something not entirely her own, those who listened felt both awe and terror. The divine message was never simply light. It often carried shadows with it. At Delphi, the oracle's responses were famously ambiguous. "You will destroy a great empire," she told one king. But she did not say whose empire it would be. Her prophecies, though revered, left space for tragedy, as though truth itself resisted being spoken clearly. That resistance, that veil of uncertainty, feels deliberate, as if the universe allows only glimpses, not full comprehension, as if too much knowing would unravel something essential within the soul. Elsewhere, the Maya had their Ajkajay, interpreters of the sacred calendar who entered trance to communicate with ancestral spirits. In ancient China, diviners carved questions into turtle shells and ox bones, then watched how the cracks formed when heated, believing the universe answered through pattern, through fracture. In Egypt, priests interpreted dreams that came not from imagination, but from other planes of being. In each culture, prophecy was a dance with the unknown. It was both devotion and danger. The oracles were never fully trusted, even by those who sought them. They were intermediaries, standing between human reason and cosmic mystery. The Greeks built the Temple of Apollo not only as a site of worship, but as a fortress to contain the divine force that spoke through the Pythia. Even the gods, it seems, required boundaries. Many who approached her left shaken, haunted by the half-truths she offered. Some scholars suggest the vapors beneath the temple released ethylene gas, inducing altered states. But even if that is true, the greater question remains: why did such a system of prophetic madness appear in so many corners of the ancient world, in people who never met or shared language? Perhaps it is because the human mind itself is wired to reach beyond. The oracles, in their trembling voices and fevered eyes, were explorers of the inner cosmos, voyagers not through space, but through consciousness. They ventured into realms where thought becomes image and time folds upon itself. The ancient world may have seen them as sacred intermediaries, but perhaps they were early scientists of the soul, testing the limits of perception. There is beauty in this thought, and also unease. For when we listen to the stories of oracles, we hear not just prophecy, but warning. Cassandra of Troy, cursed to tell the truth and never be believed. The Delphic priestess, speaking in tongues no one could fully translate. The prophets of the Hebrew tradition, burdened by visions too vast for mortal comprehension. Knowledge, again and again, arrives like a storm, powerful, illuminating, but never safe. Even in our modern age, the echo of the oracle lingers. Psychics, mediums, and those who claim to speak with the beyond are the distant descendants of these ancient seers. We still gather in silence, light candles, and wait for voices that might emerge from within or beyond ourselves. Science explains much, yet deep within us remains the longing to know what lies behind the curtain of the known. And sometimes, in dreams or sudden intuition, we feel that same shiver the ancients once did, the feeling that the universe is whispering directly to us. The oracles remind us of a truth both haunting and tender, that there are ways of knowing which defy logic, and ways of seeing that require us to close our eyes. They stand as guardians of the threshold, figures who teach that mystery is not meant to be conquered, but listened to. Their voices, trembling, fragmented, beautiful, still echo through time, asking the same question that all seekers must face. If the void were to speak to you, would you have the courage to listen? And so, as the ages pass and temples crumble, the role of the oracle never truly disappears. It merely changes form. Perhaps today, the voice that speaks from the darkness comes not from sacred caves, but from within our own thoughts, the quiet intuition that warns, that guides, that reveals. It is the echo of an ancient practice, a memory in our blood. The same longing that once led a priestess to inhale divine vapors beneath Delphi's stones now guides the dreamer, the poet, the scientist, and the philosopher. For what is prophecy, if not the human desire to make meaning of mystery? What is an oracle, if not a mirror through which we glimpse both the cosmos and ourselves? The ancients may have feared the darkness that spoke through them, but perhaps that darkness was never an enemy. Perhaps it was only the universe reminding us, in whispers and riddles, that some truths can only be heard in silence. And as the world drifts towards sleep, the voices of the oracles fade into the still air, dissolving into the hum of the night. The void is quiet once more, but somewhere deep within the listener's heart, a fragment of that whisper remains, a reminder that the unknown has always been near, waiting patiently for those brave enough to hear it. Sound, light, two of the oldest languages of the universe, and perhaps the first tools of creation itself. Before words, before symbols, before the written histories of kings and gods, there was vibration, a hum, a resonance that moved through the fabric of everything. The ancients, in their quiet way, seemed to know this truth. Across distant lands and forgotten civilizations, there are whispers of a hidden science, one that understood how sound could shape matter, how light could reveal spirit. It is a knowledge that lingers like an echo beneath stone and star alike, waiting for the attentive ear to hear it once more. In temples older than memory, sound was not entertainment. It was ceremony, a bridge between worlds. At Karnak, the columns hum when struck, their sandstone bodies resonating with deep, almost human tones. In the hypogeum of Hal Saflieni in Malta, a chamber carved 5,000 years ago, a single voice chanting at the right frequency can cause the entire structure to vibrate in unison. Archaeologists who enter those tunnels describe feeling the sound within their bones, as though their bodies were being tuned. The ancients built these places not by accident, but by design. To them, resonance was sacred geometry in motion. Imagine standing in one of those dark, echoing chambers. The flicker of torchlight dancing across carved walls. A priest's voice rising and falling, tones overlapping like waves. The air vibrates, and for a moment, it feels as if the boundary between yourself and the world has thinned. It is not difficult to believe that something beyond the ordinary might be listening. Ancient Egypt, in particular, seemed to understand sound as a tool of both creation and control. The word itself held power. To speak a name was to summon the essence of what it described. Hieroglyphs for sound and breath were often depicted together, suggesting that vibration and life were inseparable. The god Thoth, patron of writing and wisdom, was said to have spoken the universe into being through the magic of utterance. Even the word Heka, which we now translate as magic, originally meant activated through speech. Every ritual chant, every priestly intonation, was more than prayer. It was an act of vibration designed to align the human soul with the cosmic order. Light, too, was sacred. In the temples of Abu Simbel, the sun was guided by perfect architecture. Twice a year, at dawn, sunlight pierces the temple's inner sanctum to illuminate statues deep within. Not one day early, not one day late. This was precision astronomy carved in stone, a synchronization between celestial and earthly rhythm. To the people of the Nile, light was divine intelligence, the visible form of truth. Where sound connected the soul, light connected the mind. And together, they were the twin pillars of a technology the modern world has barely begun to rediscover. Across the ocean, in the temples of the Maya and the pyramids of Teotihuacan, similar mysteries unfold. Clap your hands at the base of the pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, and the echo that returns sounds like the chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird, a creature the Maya associated with the gods. Scientists have confirmed the acoustic phenomenon, yet cannot fully explain how such intentional sound design was achieved by builders with primitive tools. The same precision appears in the ancient theaters of Greece, where a whisper from the stage could be heard clearly in the highest seat hundreds of feet away. Sound, shaped perfectly, needed no amplification. Perhaps this was not architecture as we know it, but a form of tuning, temples and monuments acting as vast instruments meant to channel energy, harmonize space, and alter consciousness. In Tibet, monks chant in low, resonant frequencies that seem to suspend time itself. Their voices, layered together, create overtones that defy simple physics. Listeners often describe entering a trance-like calm, as though reality has slowed. In India, the concept of Nada Brahma, the world is sound, describes a universe born not from explosion, but vibration. The ancient seers believed that by chanting specific tones, one could align with the rhythm of creation. Could it be that sound was once a form of forgotten technology? Myths from Egypt to the Andes speak of stones that were moved by song. Legends claim that great blocks levitated through vibration, carried effortlessly by the resonance of sacred instruments. Archaeologists dismiss such tales as exaggeration, but when one stands before the seamless, 100-ton stones of Baalbek or the cyclopean walls of Sacsayhuaman, it's hard not to wonder. The marks of primitive chisels are nowhere to be found. What remains is silence and mystery. Light, too, held secrets beyond illumination. Ancient mirrors of polished obsidian were said to reveal visions and knowledge of the unseen. Priests used prisms and reflective pools not merely for beauty, but for divination, to read the messages hidden in refracted light. In the subterranean temples of Egypt, traces of carbon soot are strangely absent, suggesting that they may have used unknown methods to light the darkness without flame. Were they using reflected sunlight, or something else entirely? The deeper one looks, the more these fragments align. From sound and light, geometry arises. From vibration and illumination, pattern. And through pattern, the ancients reached understanding, not of machines or equations, but of harmony itself. They seem to grasp that the universe is not made of matter alone, but of frequency. Everything that exists, from atoms to galaxies, hums at its own pitch. To know those pitches, to tune them, was to align oneself with the sacred order of being. Even in modern science, echoes of this truth are returning. Physicists now describe reality in terms of vibration, string theory suggesting that all particles are resonant filaments of energy. Light, sound, and matter are no longer separate, but different expressions of the same underlying wave. What the ancients intuited through ritual and architecture, we are only beginning to articulate through mathematics. Perhaps their temples were not merely places of worship, but early laboratories, spaces where human consciousness and cosmic rhythm met in deliberate harmony. Yet this knowledge, like so many others, faded. Wars destroyed temples. Empires collapsed. The chants became superstition, the resonance forgotten. In time, the sacred frequencies of the ancients were replaced by mechanical noise. But some fragments endure, in the Gregorian chants that still echo through cathedrals, in the gongs and bells that mark meditation across cultures, in the heartbeat-like pulse of certain songs that soothe the mind. Even our instinct to hum softly to calm ourselves may be an unconscious memory of the oldest medicine there is, sound. To lie in the dark and listen to a tone, a single, sustained note, is to touch the same mystery. It vibrates through the chest, the skin, the air. It feels ancient, as if it has always been there. The ancients knew this. They did not simply hear sound. They entered it. They did not merely see light. They moved within it. Their science was not written in books, but carved into the silence of stone, hidden in patterns of resonance and rays of dawn. And as the night deepens, one might wonder whether the same frequencies still hum beneath the earth, beneath the oceans, beneath the very silence of space. Perhaps, in ways we cannot yet perceive, the cosmos continues to sing, a slow, eternal song of vibration and illumination. And perhaps the ancients were not primitive builders at all, but listeners, guardians of a harmony humanity has forgotten how to hear. In the end, it may not be that they possess technology beyond our reach, but perception beyond our imagination. They knew that creation itself is music and light intertwined, that to know the universe, one must first learn to listen to it. And as the stars shimmer above the sleeping world, their soft radiance and distant hum remind us, the oldest mysteries were never truly lost. They are all around us still, waiting patiently to be remembered. As the ancient world faded into the mists of time, its great temples crumbled, its knowledge scattered into fragments and whispers. The Middle Ages emerged from that silence, an age of candlelight and shadow, where wisdom was guarded, censored, or lost. Yet in this long night of history, something peculiar endured. Among the monasteries and scriptoria of Europe, in dimly lit rooms where ink met parchment, strange manuscripts began to appear. They spoke in symbols no one could read, filled with images both divine and profane. Some claimed to hold the secrets of heaven, others, the knowledge that damned angels once gave to humankind. They became known as the shadow manuscripts, texts that seemed to remember things humanity had chosen to forget. Imagine the scene. A lone monk hunched over a wooden desk, a quill trembling in his hand. The air smells of candle wax and parchment. Outside, the wind howls through cloisters like a restless spirit. The monk copies lines from a book he cannot understand, its letters twisted, its meanings veiled. He dares not question its contents, for the book itself feels alive, watching him as he writes. Centuries later, these same volumes would be found hidden in walls, buried in church basements, or sealed away by order of fearful kings. Among the most mysterious of them is the Voynich manuscript, discovered in the early 20th century but believed to date back to the 1400s. Its pages are filled with delicate illustrations, women bathing in pools connected by green, flowing pipes, spirals of unknown plants, constellations that do not match any in our skies. The text, written in an undeciphered script, defies translation even today. Linguists, cryptographers, and AI programs have all tried and failed to unlock it. It is as if the book was written in a language meant for another mind entirely, or perhaps for no mind at all. Who wrote it? The theories multiply like dreams. Some say it was a ciphered medical text, others an alchemical treatise. Some whisper it was dictated by something non-human, a relic of ancient knowledge preserved through secret hands. The tone of its drawings is strangely serene, almost hypnotic, yet there is something unsettling about them, as though the artist knew things about life, nature, and the stars that we have yet to rediscover. Not all manuscripts of this era were so subtle. The Codex Gigas, known as the Devil's Bible, stands as one of the most haunting relics of medieval Europe. Nearly a meter tall and bound in leather, it contains the entire Latin Bible, along with medical treatises, exorcism rituals, and a massive full-page portrait of the devil himself. Legend says it was written by a single monk in one night, after he made a desperate pact to save his soul. Scholars now believe it took decades to complete, but the myth persists because of the feeling the book gives off, an unease, a weight. Even under glass, it seems to radiate a presence, as if the parchment remembers every prayer, every curse, every trembling hand that turned its pages. Other manuscripts carry different forms of mystery. The Book of Soiga, once owned by the Elizabethan magician John Dee, was believed to contain secret codes of angelic communication. Its encrypted tables of letters defied understanding until modern computers revealed hidden mathematical patterns. Yet even then, their meaning remains obscure. The Picatrix, an Arabic grimoire of astral magic translated into Latin, attempted to map the heavens as a mirror of human will. And the Liber Lentius, written on linen and later used to wrap an Egyptian mummy, contains a forgotten language we still cannot interpret. Each of these works stands at the border between knowledge and heresy, caught between the light of inquiry and the darkness of fear. During the Middle Ages, to possess such texts was dangerous. The The Church, seeking to protect faith from corruption, often saw forbidden knowledge as the devil's lure. Books were burned, their authors silenced. Yet some monks could not resist preserving them. They hid what they copied, locking their manuscripts behind false walls or encoding them in strange alphabets. It is as though a secret lineage of scribes carried ancient knowledge through the centuries like embers, waiting for a world that might one day understand it again. Even today, when we hold these books, something stirs. The ink has faded, but their presence is alive, not as superstition, but as atmosphere. One feels the tension between curiosity and dread. Why do so many of these texts speak of the same things the ancients once whispered about? Forbidden light, secret geometry, voices from beyond. Could they be the descendants of older scrolls that survived the fall of empires? Some historians think so. They argue that hidden manuscripts of the medieval world preserved fragments of Egyptian Hermeticism, Babylonian astronomy, and pre-Christian mysticism, ancient sciences disguised as prayers. When the Renaissance dawned, these forgotten volumes re-emerged and ignited a rebirth of art and reason. But during the centuries before, they remained ghosts in ink, half-remembered echoes of an older world. In a monastery library in France, there is a small book known as Le Petit Albert, a grimoire of household magic said to combine Christian blessing with pagan incantation. To touch it was once considered dangerous. Some claimed its pages could bring wealth or ruin, depending on how they were read. And yet, for those who dared, it promised communion with the hidden order of the world, a reminder that beneath ordinary faith, the sacred and the forbidden are never far apart. When night falls and the libraries close, these manuscripts seem to breathe in the dark. Their illustrations shimmer faintly in candlelight. Spirals of plants, circles of stars, diagrams of energy flowing through invisible planes. They speak not to the rational mind, but to something deeper, a memory that humankind has always carried. That knowledge, once gained, can never be entirely lost. It merely hides, waiting for the next dreamer to find it. And perhaps that is why these books still exist, because they are not merely records of words, but mirrors of our oldest longing, the desire to touch the divine, to uncover what lies beyond the veil. They remind us that mystery itself has lineage, passed down through trembling hands and sleepless nights. In the end, the shadow manuscripts of the Middle Ages are not only stories of ink and parchment, but of courage. For every page copied in secret, every strange diagram drawn by moonlight, was an act of defiance against forgetting. Through them, the echo of ancient knowledge survived the fire. And as we read their indecipherable symbols today, perhaps they read us too, silent witnesses to the human hunger for truth, no matter how dark its source may be. So when we speak of these manuscripts, we're not just speaking of medieval superstition or lost languages. We are speaking of the quiet continuity of wonder, the thread that connects every seeker, every oracle, every priest who ever dared to listen to the unknown. They're the proof that even in the darkest centuries, light was still being written. Hidden, coded, whispered, but never gone. Long after the shadow manuscripts were hidden in monasteries and forgotten libraries, another form of guardianship arose, one not bound by ink or parchment, but by oath and secrecy. Across continents and centuries, certain groups emerged whose sole purpose seemed to be the preservation of knowledge too dangerous, too powerful, or too revealing for ordinary eyes. They were the hidden keepers of knowledge, cloaked not only in robes or masks, but in the silence of their own understanding. Their existence is often whispered in myths and conspiracy theories, yet history shows that their presence was real, tangible, and persistent. The Knights Templar are perhaps the most famous of these guardians. Founded in the early 12th century to protect pilgrims in the Holy Land, they accumulated immense wealth, influence, and secrets. Beyond their military and religious roles, the Templars are rumored to have discovered sacred relics, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and texts that predated Christianity itself. Some legends suggest that in their underground vaults, They stored not only gold and scrolls, but knowledge that could alter the course of civilizations. Modern historians debate these claims, yet the Templar archives, burned, dispersed, and hidden, hint at a deliberate strategy. Knowledge, once dangerous, must be protected at all costs. Other orders, like the Rosicrucians, carried a subtler, more mystical mandate. Emerging in the early 17th century, they combined philosophy, alchemy, and spiritual practice, often shrouding their wisdom in allegory and coded writings. Their goal was not conquest, but illumination, guiding humanity toward understanding while keeping certain truths from misuse. The Rosicrucians believed that knowledge, like fire, could both warm and destroy. To reveal it to the unprepared was to invite catastrophe. Their manuscripts, symbols, and rituals formed a delicate architecture of secrecy, a latticework of truth hidden in plain sight. Even beyond Europe, secret societies and clandestine scholars played similar roles. In the Islamic world, scholars preserved Greek, Persian, and Indian works during centuries when libraries were under threat from war and destruction. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad, though publicly a center of learning, contained texts that were restricted to a select few. In Asia, Taoist masters guarded scrolls of alchemy and cosmic philosophy, passing them only to those who had proven both discipline and discernment. Across all cultures, there was a recurring understanding. Knowledge is a gift that can easily become a curse, and its guardians must remain vigilant. These keepers were not simply hoarding for power or prestige. They understood something ancient and profound. The human curiosity is inexhaustible, but human readiness is fragile. Too much truth too soon could destabilize minds, societies, even entire civilizations. In every culture, we see echoes of this idea. The Greek myth of Pandora's box warns of curiosity unleashed without preparation. The story of Adam and Eve, the cautionary tales of the Watchers in Mesopotamia, and the cryptic writings of medieval alchemists all converge on a single theme. Knowledge must be earned, and its guardians are both protectors and gatekeepers. The methods of these hidden keepers varied. Some encrypted texts with complex ciphers, others wove lessons into art, architecture, and ritual, subtle forms of teaching that only the perceptive could decode. Cathedrals, with their labyrinthine floors and star-aligned windows, might have been lessons in geometry and cosmology for those initiated into the symbolic language. Monastic illuminations hid diagrams of anatomy, cosmology, or philosophy within layers of myth. Even ordinary folk who gazed upon the stained glass or the mural would see only beauty, while the trained eye could discern hidden truths. The idea of secret transmission extended beyond written knowledge. Initiatory rites, meditation practices, and oral teachings became tools of preservation. Knowledge was embedded in story, in gesture, in chant, something that could survive destruction even if the written word was lost. In this sense, the keepers of knowledge were also teachers, though their lessons were veiled. Each generation was tasked with discerning the right measure of revelation, a delicate balance between illumination and restraint. Its secrecy carries its own shadow. Many of these orders, in their zeal to protect, became mysterious, even feared. Rumors spread of hidden chambers, secret rites, and forbidden powers. Those who glimpsed their workings without initiation often assumed malice or sorcery. In many cases, the line between guardian and manipulator blurred. Some orders may have indeed sought power, but others were simply trying to navigate the tension between what humanity could know and what it could withstand. The very act of guarding knowledge created myths around them, which in turn strengthened the aura of mystery surrounding their work. Consider the Rosicrucians again. Their manifestos speak of hidden libraries, coded instructions, and secret masters who guide humanity unseen. Some claim these texts contained insights into natural laws, medicine, and even methods to harness energies beyond ordinary perception. The Templars, similarly, have been credited with cryptic maps, astronomical charts, and esoteric rituals. Whether every claim is true is impossible to verify. The manuscripts themselves are fragmentary, scattered, or destroyed. Yet the persistence of these stories, across centuries and cultures, suggests a pattern. Knowledge that is too dangerous to reveal in full often survives through secrecy. In modern times, the echoes of these hidden keepers persist. Academic institutions, think tanks, and even secret societies continue to hold knowledge inaccessible to the public. Some of it is mundane, bureaucratic, or technical. Some may touch on truths that could unsettle accepted paradigms. While science and technology have made certain ancient mysteries more comprehensible, there remains an awareness that not all knowledge is meant to be pursued without caution. Humanity, with all its curiosity, is still learning the lesson that those secretive monks, priests, and sages understood long ago. Wisdom without discernment can be perilous. The hidden keepers also remind us of continuity. Through centuries of war, plague, and collapse, there is always someone safeguarding what was necessary to preserve. Even when the world seemed shrouded in ignorance, these guardians maintained a silent bridge between the past and the future. They held the line against destruction, ensuring that fragments of ancient science, mysticism, and philosophy could one day resurface. In this sense, secrecy itself becomes an act of hope, a quiet promise that the next generation might inherit a world where the echoes of forgotten knowledge can be understood again. And perhaps that is the ultimate lesson of the hidden keepers. That mystery is not meant to be eradicated. Some things must remain veiled, not to torment humanity, but to guide it, to teach patience, discernment, and humility, to remind us that the pursuit of knowledge is not only about accumulation, but also about responsibility. The manuscripts they protected, the rituals they preserved, the symbols they encoded, all were part of a covenant between the known and the unknowable. As night falls and the world grows silent, the hidden keepers of knowledge continue their vigil, not in temples or libraries, but in the very structure of culture itself. In the encrypted texts, the coded rituals, the traditions handed from teacher to student, their presence remains. They are the quiet thread weaving continuity across centuries, a reminder that wisdom, like light in a dark room, must sometimes be shielded before it can illuminate. And as we listen to the distant echoes of their work, in manuscripts, architecture, and ritual, we feel the hum of something greater than ourselves. A message, perhaps, that knowledge is a living thing, fragile and eternal, waiting for the patient, the careful, and the reverent to discover it once more. The hidden keepers are not merely figures of history. They are the custodians of humanity's most profound questions, standing watch over truths that, if revealed too quickly, could unravel the mind or the world. And so, their story lingers in the quiet corners of our imagination. They teach us that secrecy is not shameful, but sacred. That mystery is not absence, but a form of preservation. That the shadows of history, when understood, can illuminate the present more than any candle ever could. The hidden keepers remind us, gently but insistently, that some knowledge is a gift that demands patience, reverence, and courage. A reminder that the boundary between the known and the unknown is sacred, and that the guardians of that boundary have always been among us. As the centuries rolled forward, the guardians of hidden knowledge seemed to recede into legend, their manuscripts and rituals tucked away, almost forgotten. Yet the shadows of their secrets never fully disappeared. In subtle, almost imperceptible ways, the ancient mysteries they preserved began to resurface in our modern age, not through temples or clandestine orders, but through the tools of science, mathematics, and technology. Humanity, once again, found itself on the threshold of forbidden insight, peering into dimensions that the ancients might have recognized, but that our unprepared minds struggle to comprehend. In laboratories humming with electricity and light, scientists now probe the very foundations of reality. Quantum physics, the study of a universe at its smallest scales, reveals a world that is astonishingly strange. Particles exist in multiple places at once. Matter can be entangled across vast distances, and the very act of observation can change the outcome of experiments. To the layperson, these concepts sound like the dreams of an ancient oracle or the visions of a seer inhaling vapors in a hidden chamber. Yet they are real, measured phenomena. The universe, it seems, is not as fixed or predictable as we once imagined. Its rules are flexible, subtle, and occasionally terrifying. Consider the double-slit experiment, where particles of light or matter pass through two openings simultaneously, creating patterns that defy classical explanation. When observed, the particles behave one way. When left unobserved, they behave another. This is no mere trick. It suggests that consciousness itself may be intertwined with the fabric of reality. It is a revelation reminiscent of the old mystical traditions, that mind and matter are not separate, that awareness can influence the cosmos. Perhaps the ancients intuited this truth in their chants, their meditations, and their sacred architecture. Modern science is merely catching up. Then there are the mysteries of the cosmos itself. The discovery of dark matter and dark energy, which together constitute over 95% of the universe, reminds us how little we truly know. Everything we see, from stars to planets, is only a tiny fraction of what exists. The rest is hidden, imperceptible to our senses, influencing the movement of galaxies, the expansion of space, and the rhythm of cosmic time. Humanity peers into the heavens with telescopes that span continents, and yet finds itself confronted with a vast, silent unknown. It is a modern echo of the oracles, the subterranean temples, and the shadow manuscripts, a universe filled with knowledge that both beckons and humbles. Artificial intelligence, in its own way, continues this tradition of brushing against forbidden knowledge. Programs capable of learning, reasoning, and generating new ideas are beginning to operate in realms that surpass human intuition. AI can analyze patterns in data that no human mind could hope to comprehend, making connections invisible to even the most meticulous scholar. There's a faint unease in this achievement. By creating machines that can know in ways we cannot, we are, in a sense, handing a piece of our understanding to forces beyond our full control. It is reminiscent of ancient myths in which mortals touched knowledge they were not ready to wield and suffered the consequences. The Large Hadron Collider, buried beneath the French-Swiss border, offers another contemporary mirror to the past. Here, scientists smash particles together at near-light speeds, attempting to recreate conditions that existed fractions of a second after the Big Bang. They seek the so-called God particle, the Higgs boson, a particle whose existence explains why matter has mass. Yet even as they probe these fundamental questions, there's a sense of standing at a boundary. To see too far, too clearly, may challenge the very assumptions that underpin reality. It is science echoing the ancient caution. There are things that, once glimpsed, cannot be unseen. Time itself is a concept under scrutiny. Experiments in physics suggest that past, present, and future may not be as linear as human perception assumes. In the theory of relativity, time bends, stretches, and flows differently depending on speed and gravity. Quantum experiments hint at retrocausality, where future events could influence the past. Philosophers and physicists alike ponder whether our experience of a sequential, predictable timeline is an illusion, a comforting narrative imposed upon a far more fluid universe. These ideas, strange as they may sound, resonate with the teachings of the hidden keepers and the oracles, that reality is far more complex than our senses can measure. Yet not all glimpses of forbidden knowledge are confined to laboratories. Certain discoveries in archaeology, linguistics, and anthropology continue to challenge our understanding of human history. Sites like Göbekli Tepe, older than Stonehenge, reveal sophisticated stonework and symbolic carvings created by hunter-gatherers long before formal civilization arose. The sophistication of their construction and the mysteries of their purpose suggest knowledge lost to the ages. Similar enigmas exist in South America, Africa, and Asia. Monuments aligned with celestial bodies, technologies appearing centuries before their supposed invention, and writings that hint at concepts still being unraveled today. Modern science, in mapping these artifacts, often encounters the same question faced by medieval scribes and ancient priests. How much did humanity truly know, and how much of it have we forgotten? In parallel, mathematics, the language of the cosmos, continues to unveil structures that feel almost mystical. Fractals, discovered in the 20th century, describe infinitely repeating patterns that appear in nature. The branching of trees, the arrangement of leaves, the structure of clouds. Prime numbers and the peculiar rhythms of the Fibonacci sequence appear in patterns that transcend culture and era, suggesting an underlying order that ancient mathematicians and mystics may have intuited long before formal proofs were possible. Mathematics itself becomes a bridge between the visible and invisible, a language in which the cosmos whispers its secrets. The convergence of these discoveries across disciplines carries a subtle warning. Humanity's pursuit of knowledge has always been accompanied by awe and unease. The ancients built temples and meditated in hidden chambers. The monks and scribes encrypted manuscripts and hid them in walls. Today, our particle accelerators, quantum computers, and telescopes serve the same purpose: to gaze deeper into the structure of existence while remaining aware that the universe may not reveal itself without cost. There's a fragile balance between insight and hubris, between revelation and terror. Even psychology and neuroscience hint at forbidden frontiers. Experiments in altered states of consciousness, meditation, psychedelics, sensory deprivation, suggest that the mind itself contains hidden dimensions. Perception can be shifted, time can be distorted, and insights arise that seem impossible within ordinary cognition. Ancient shamans and oracles may have accessed similar states, though they describe them in myth and metaphor. Modern science now confirms the brain's capacity to perceive realities that ordinary waking consciousness cannot grasp. The forbidden knowledge of the mind, it seems, has been with us all along. There are also warnings in these modern glimpses. Every technology, every scientific breakthrough carries potential danger. Nuclear physics can create energy or devastation. Artificial intelligence can heal or deceive. Even knowledge of our origins, if misinterpreted or weaponized, could fracture societies or minds. The Hidden Keepers understood this centuries ago. They recognized that wisdom is not neutral. It is power, and power must be tempered with restraint. Today, the same lesson echoes across laboratories and lecture halls. Discovery alone is not enough. Responsibility must accompany revelation. Despite these warnings, the modern world cannot stop its curiosity. Humanity is drawn irresistibly toward the unknown. Perhaps it is encoded in our very nature. The same drive that led us to count stars and carve stone, that inspired monks to copy forbidden texts by candlelight, now pushes us to build instruments that can see the universe at its most fundamental level. It is the same quest across time and culture for communion with the hidden laws of reality. And yet, even as we reach toward these forbidden frontiers, there's a quiet hum of continuity with the past. The oracles, the hidden keepers, the shadow manuscripts, the vibrating stones, and sunlit temples. All these threads converge in a modern mind. Quantum physics, AI, and cosmic discovery are simply new manifestations of the same ancient impulse. To understand the world, not merely in its surface appearance, but in its deepest structure. We are standing at the edge of knowledge as our ancestors once did, peering into the void, listening for a whisper that has traversed millennia. In the stillness of this understanding, a subtle reverence emerges. Knowledge is no longer a simple accumulation of facts. It is an encounter with the unknown, an engagement with forces and truths that surpass the limits of perception. The forbidden, once distant and mythical, is now tangible, measured, and yet still mysterious. It hums through particle collisions, glows faintly in the dark matter that eludes our instruments, and whispers through the structures of the human mind that can glimpse the infinite. As night settles and the stars emerge overhead, we may feel the same awe that ancient civilizations felt beneath their skies. The universe is vast, layered, and astonishingly complex. Every discovery opens more questions than answers. Humanity is once again listening to the whispers of the void, walking the narrow path between illumination and disorientation. Science, in its purest form, becomes a form of meditation, a measured listening to the echoes of the cosmos, a humble acknowledgement that some truths are vast, strange, and perhaps forbidden. And so, in this modern age, the echoes of ancient secrecy and hidden wisdom find their resonance. The forbidden knowledge of old is not gone. It has merely transformed. It moves now through equations, algorithms, and telescopes, waiting for humanity to approach with both courage and humility. The past and present converge in a single, luminous thought. The universe is more mysterious than we can measure, and yet we are compelled to measure it. The impulse is timeless, the pursuit unending, and the lessons of the hidden keepers as relevant now as they were in candlelit chambers centuries ago. In the quiet moments of reflection, when we look at the stars, listen to the vibrations of the earth, or consider the vastness of the mind, we participate in the same ancient journey. We, like the oracles, the Templars, and the alchemists, are listeners at the edge of the known, peering into the forbidden. And perhaps that is the true continuity of human curiosity, the understanding that some knowledge may never be fully grasped, that some mysteries are meant to endure, and that the act of seeking, patient, reverent, and humble, is itself a bridge between the finite and the infinite. The modern glimpses are proof that humanity has never stopped reaching. Science has become the language of the oracles, and discovery the continuation of the hidden keeper's vigil. The universe has always offered hints, fragments, and shadows, and we continue to assemble them with care and wonder. And in the stillness, in the resonance of thought and matter, in the patterns that emerge from chaos, we begin to see that forbidden knowledge has never truly been forbidden, only waiting for a civilization capable of listening with both courage and humility. The boundary between the known and the unknown remains delicate. But the more we explore, the more we realize that the ancient warning persists. Knowledge is profound, powerful, and dangerous. And yet, for all its risks, we cannot resist the call. Like the generations before us, we are standing at the threshold, listening to the whisper of the universe, aware that the forbidden is not meant to terrify, but to teach, to remind us that in every discovery, in every insight, we are participants in an ancient, ongoing dialogue with the cosmos itself. Humanity has returned to the edge. The forbidden and the known dance once again, intertwined as they always have. And as we peer into the mysteries of the modern world, the quantum, the cosmic, the computational, we are connected to every seeker who came before. The oracles, the hidden keepers, the shadow manuscripts, all are echoes in our present moment. Their whispers reach us still, not as warnings to flee, but as invitations to listen carefully, to wonder deeply, and to approach the unknown with both humility and courage. In this convergence of past and present, the forbidden becomes not a threat, but a guide. Science and mystery are not opposed. They are companions on the same journey. And perhaps, just perhaps, humanity is finally beginning to understand that the unknown is not something to conquer, but something to respect, to listen to ponder, and to carry forward with reverent curiosity. Here, at the edge of knowledge, the ancient and modern meet, and the universe waits, patient and silent, offering its secrets to those who will listen. As the night deepens and the stars shimmer overhead, a quiet realization emerges. Humanity has always been in dialogue with the unknown. From the oracles of Delphi to the hidden keepers of medieval knowledge, from the shadow manuscripts to modern scientists probing the quantum world, There is a continuous thread, an unbroken lineage of curiosity, caution, and reverence. Across time, civilizations have approached the boundary between the known and the mysterious with the same mixture of awe and trepidation. The unknown is not merely an external landscape to be mapped. It is a mirror of our deepest selves, a reflection of what we are capable of comprehending, imagining, and respecting. The mysteries humanity has sought to uncover are vast and varied, yet they share a common quality. They remind us of our limitations even as they invite exploration. Ancient temples, carefully aligned with celestial bodies, were more than architectural feats. They were instruments of insight, guiding humans toward patterns and truths that could not be grasped by mere observation. Oracles spoke in fractured, poetic riddles, hinting at truths too expansive for ordinary comprehension. Shadow manuscripts preserved forbidden knowledge across centuries, hidden from eyes unprepared for its consequences. Each era approached the unknown differently, yet always with a recognition that certain knowledge carries weight beyond its apparent utility. In modern times, the pursuit continues. Telescopes peer into the farthest reaches of the cosmos, revealing galaxies, dark matter, and cosmic rhythms that challenge our understanding of space and time. Particle accelerators recreate the conditions of the universe's first moments, offering glimpses into the very building blocks of reality. Neuroscientists and psychologists explore consciousness itself, uncovering dimensions of the mind that ancient mystics once accessed through trance and meditation. Even artificial intelligence hints at a new form of knowing, algorithms uncovering patterns invisible to the human eye. Each step forward is accompanied by the same mixture of wonder and caution that has always defined our engagement with the unknown. Yet perhaps the most enduring mystery is not in the universe, nor in our minds, nor in hidden manuscripts. It is within ourselves. Humanity's curiosity is both our greatest strength and our deepest vulnerability. The same desire that drives us to explore, innovate, and understand also makes us susceptible to hubris. The hidden keepers of knowledge understood this. They preserved secrets not out of selfishness, but out of recognition that the unprepared mind could be harmed by truths too profound or dangerous. Every generation inherits this silent pact with the unknown, to seek knowledge responsibly, to approach mystery with humility, and to respect the balance between illumination and preservation. History itself reads as a testament to this balance. Empires rose and fell, religions flourished and faded, yet the pursuit of understanding endured. Knowledge, once dangerous or forbidden, was preserved in secret, encoded in architecture, encrypted in manuscripts, and transmitted orally across generations. Each fragment of wisdom that survived carried with it a warning. Approach carefully, honor the unknown, and remember that every discovery comes with consequences. The very structure of human curiosity, methodical, patient, reverent, reflects an unspoken agreement with the universe itself. Even as our technologies advance, the lessons of the past remain relevant. Science can measure, map, and predict, yet it cannot erase uncertainty. Quantum experiments, cosmic observations, and explorations of consciousness reveal patterns, but the underlying mystery persists. Some knowledge may never be fully understood, some questions may remain unanswered. And yet, it is precisely this tension between understanding and mystery that fuels progress. The unknown is not a void to be conquered. It is a partner in our journey, offering guidance, challenge, and inspiration. There is a quiet poetry in this ongoing dialogue. Just as the oracles whispered in candlelit chambers and the monks labored over manuscripts in cloisters, modern explorers of knowledge, scientists, philosophers, and dreamers alike, listen attentively to the subtle signals of the universe. Sometimes those signals manifest as equations, sometimes as patterns in nature, sometimes as insights that arise in dreams or moments of quiet reflection. Across time, the act of listening, patient, careful, and reverent, has remained central to our engagement with the unknown. Perhaps this is the most important truth of all, that mystery is not a problem to be solved, but a presence to be honored. Humanity's relationship with the unknown is not one of domination, but of negotiation. We glimpse fragments, interpret signs, and test boundaries, always aware that understanding carries responsibility. The universe is vast, layered, and often unfathomable, yet it invites participation. By observing, questioning, and respecting, we enter into a pact that spans millennia. To seek knowledge without overstepping, to illuminate without destroying, and to carry the echoes of what came before into the present moment. And in the stillness of the night, when the world sleeps and the stars burn silently overhead, the legacy of this pact is evident. We are heirs to the oracles, the hidden keepers, and the shadow manuscripts. Their vigilance, caution, and curiosity flow through us, shaping how we think, explore, and dream. Each new insight, each discovery, is a continuation of a conversation that began in the distant past, a conversation about the boundaries of human understanding, the responsibility of knowledge, and the enduring presence of the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring mystery teaches patience, humility, and wonder. It reminds us that knowledge is not merely an accumulation of facts, but a living dialogue with the universe. Each question answered opens new questions. Each secret uncovered hints at deeper truths. Humanity has never been alone in this pursuit. We are part of a continuum that stretches back to the earliest civilizations, through shadowed corridors of hidden manuscripts, to the laboratories and observatories of today. As we close our eyes and drift towards sleep, the quiet hum of curiosity continues. The unknown is patient, infinite, and waiting. It whispers through the stone of ancient temples, the ink of forbidden texts, the equations of modern physics, and the rhythms of our own consciousness. And we, like those who came before, listen with awe and reverence, honoring a pact that is as old as humanity itself, to seek, to question, to wonder, and to carry forward the delicate balance between what is known and what must remain mysterious. In the end, perhaps the greatest mystery is not the secrets of the universe, nor the lost knowledge of the ancients, but the human capacity to remain in awe, to continue seeking even when full comprehension is impossible, to respect the unknown even as we illuminate it. This is the silent pact we inherit, the legacy of those who came before, and the quiet promise of those yet to come. The mysteries of the past, the present, and the future converge in this pact, reminding us that the universe is not only to be explored, but to be listened to, honored, and cherished. And so, the night deepens, the stars continue their silent vigil, and humanity, ever curious, stands at the threshold of the infinite, aware, humble, and perpetually engaged with the enduring mystery of all that lies beyond our knowing. As the final whispers of night surround us, it becomes clear that humanity's journey through history is not merely a chronology of events, but a meditation on curiosity itself. Every age, from the first civilizations to the modern world, has grappled with the tension between light and shadow, knowledge and mystery. From the pyramids of Egypt to the hidden chambers of medieval monasteries, from the resonating stones of Malta to the laboratories of quantum physics, there exists a continuous thread, the human desire to uncover what lies beyond the veil. This is the story of forbidden knowledge, a pursuit that is as old as time and as intimate as the quiet thoughts that stir in the dark. We are drawn to the unknown because it calls to a part of us that refuses to be confined by ordinary perception. Ancient peoples felt it in the vibration of stone, the alignment of stars, and the whispered counsel of oracles. Medieval monks recognized it in hidden manuscripts and encoded texts, preserving truths that might otherwise have been lost to fire or neglect. The hidden keepers of knowledge across centuries understood that to seek truth was a sacred act, one that required patience, humility, and vigilance. Each generation inherits their silent pact, to honor the boundary between revelation and destruction, to approach the unknown with reverence rather than recklessness. Even in the modern era, as technology and science expand our reach, this tension persists. Particle accelerators reveal the universe's first moments. Quantum experiments challenge our understanding of reality itself. Artificial intelligence discovers patterns invisible to the human mind. Yet with each advance, we are reminded that knowledge is never neutral. Every discovery carries potential for both illumination and disruption. The cosmos remains vast and enigmatic, its most profound truths resistant to our attempts at full comprehension. And in this resistance lies the allure. It is precisely what we cannot fully grasp that captivates us most deeply. Forbidden knowledge, in every era, is intertwined with mystery, beauty, and caution. The very fact that it is hidden heightens its appeal. The Voynich manuscript, the Codex Gigas, the Rosicrucian texts, each represents a puzzle not only of intellect, but of imagination. They are invitations to ponder, to explore, and to experience the thrill of approaching truth without fully possessing it. Humanity has long understood that some knowledge is not merely informative. It is transformative, reshaping perception, belief, and even identity. To encounter it is to touch a force greater than oneself. There is a poetic symmetry in this pursuit. The ancient builders, alchemists, mystics, and oracles created spaces, symbols, and rituals that guided attention, cultivated awareness, and protected insight. Modern scientists, mathematicians, and explorers create instruments, algorithms, and theories that probe the boundaries of perception, also seeking to understand and interpret hidden structures. Across centuries, the method may change, but the impulse remains the same. A desire to engage with something larger than ourselves, to hear the universe's whispers, and to translate them into understanding, however partial. Yet the allure of forbidden knowledge is not merely intellectual. It is existential. It confronts us with questions about who we are, where we come from, and what lies beyond the limits of our senses. It asks us to consider our place in a vast, often indifferent cosmos. It reminds us of the fragility of human comprehension, even as it challenges us to stretch it. In the silence of night, in the hum of stone or the shimmer of stars, we feel that ancient pull, a simultaneous invitation and warning, a call to observe with wonder and humility. There is also comfort in the continuity of this pursuit. To explore forbidden knowledge is to participate in a lineage that connects us to our ancestors. We are linked to the first priests who listened to the vibrations of the earth, the scribes who encoded truths in hidden manuscripts, and the modern seekers of patterns in the quantum and cosmic realms. Their vigilance, curiosity, and restraint echo in our own explorations. We carry forward their commitment to balance, to seek understanding without arrogance, to illuminate without destruction, to honor both the known and the unknowable. As night turns toward dawn, there is a quiet, almost sacred stillness in this reflection. Forbidden knowledge is not merely about secrets or enigmas. It is about the human experience of encountering the infinite. It reminds us that mystery is not absence, but presence, that the spaces between comprehension and ignorance are where true wonder resides. The unknown is a teacher, a mirror, and a companion, urging patience, attention, and reverence. It is in these liminal spaces where curiosity meets humility that humanity's deepest growth occurs. Ultimately, the eternal allure of forbidden knowledge lies in its duality. It invites exploration while demanding respect, offers insight while preserving mystery. It is a reminder that every age, every civilization, and every individual must negotiate the boundary between curiosity and caution. We are, in essence, participants in a dialogue that spans millennia, a conversation between the finite human mind and the infinite cosmos. Each discovery, each insight, each revelation is a note in a symphony that began long before us and will continue long after. As we drift into sleep, the lessons of history, the whispers of ancient keepers, and the revelations of modern science coalesce into a single, enduring truth. The pursuit of forbidden knowledge is a defining feature of humanity. It teaches us to listen, to wonder, to respect the unknown, and to cherish the delicate balance between illumination and restraint. It reminds us that mystery is a companion to knowledge, that awe is inseparable from understanding, and that the human spirit is most alive when it stands at the edge of the known, peering into the infinite. And so, in the quiet of night, we honor the eternal allure of forbidden knowledge, not merely for what it promises to reveal, but for the journey itself. The journey through shadow and light, through curiosity and caution, through history and mystery, is the journey of humanity itself. In this reflection, we find a final comfort. The unknown endures, patient and unyielding, and we are privileged to walk its edge, ever listening, ever learning, and ever dreaming.